Emma, how are you?
Super. My whole family and I just got tested for COVID right now, a little rapid test.
Mm,
So, being responsible. And other than that, great. I like to spend 3 hours of my day, but we must
right,
for the world.
right. Well, actually, interestingly, I was going to ask you this. If you could create your own hex, if you could put whatever you wanted into it, what would it be?
My own hex.
Your own hex, your own private world in which, you can have anything going on. Anyone can be in it playing, the rest of the world kind of shut out.
Ooh. I think I know I've reached zero tolerance for stupid people. Like, I just can't anymore. I cannot with the conspiracy theories and the just it's such a frightening lack of like a grasp on reality, that it's pervasive, and it's like its own virus. We've been dealing with COVID for feels like a lifetime at this point, and then I think concurrently fighting another virus. And it's this lack of understanding of what truth is, and self-awareness, and the ability to admit defeat, sort of championed and spearheaded by a lunatic. I would like to, if I had a hex, my world would be free of all of those people, just all of them. It's like, I don't care if you have your come to Jesus moment next month. Like, I just don't care. I don't care. Just go mouth breathe on someone else. Go believe your untruths and your crazy. Just go someplace else. And this is coming from someone who is a fervent believer in free speech. And it's not there to protect the stuff that makes you feel safe. Free speech is there to protect you against things that make you uncomfortable. But there is a vast difference between making someone uncomfortable and promoting chaos and riots and lies. So that's what my world would be without right now.
Stupidity-free zone.
Yeah. Just yeah. Like, I'm not talking about the lack of education. I'm not talking about lack of education where you're unaware of something. I'm talking about being made aware of something and ignoring it or denying it with such fervor that you create chaos all around you. That's what I'd like to be. That's what I'd like my world to be void of right now.
That sounds like a great place to be.
With, food that you can eat forever and it doesn't make you fat.
That as well would be good. I like that too.
Doesn't cause heartburn.
Your hex sounds very appealing.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like The Good Place. I don't know if you ever saw The Good Place, one of my all-time faves. And it's just like the never-ending yogurt fountains or whatever it was they had. It was just, their little slice of heaven.
I'm so glad you brought that one up. I'm really, really interested in this whole idea because I'm obsessed with WandaVision, as many, many other people are. And I'm I'm so interested in the whole idea about television and celebrating and exploring the history of television. I'm trying to find out the shows that have interested you. So I got The Good Place, The X-Files. I know you're a big X-Files fan. Star Trek: The Next Generation, Alias. I think I got Alias as well too.
Yes, I did like it, but I wouldn't say that was a show that like got under my skin. The Leftovers got under my skin.
Oh, Leftovers, yeah.
Lost as well, even though it kind of meandered a little bit, but I think it found its footing. and I know it's practically heretical at this point, but I'm going to say I liked the ending of Lost. Can I even say that? I did like the ending. But yeah, The Leftovers for sure. That like messed me up. And Battlestar Galactica, second one. That one really got like, I wasn't right for like a week after that. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but I highly recommend it. Not the OG one from like the 80s, but the Ronald Moore one. I think it really messed me up because I was like, you know what? This could actually be true. And like this whole, I don't know, I feel like it just really got into the nature of humanity.
What do you think?
If that's positive or negative, but
what do you think about shows like, well, Lost for sure, The Leftovers, a lot of the ones you mentioned? They don't really have, I mean, they're not clear cut in terms of what the ending would be, or, you know, they don't tie up quite nicely. Do you like that? Do you build your own theory afterwards? Do you explore what other people are saying about it? You know, how do you respond to shows like that?
I definitely do a deep dive for sure. The second I finish something, or even after each episode, you know, I'm there. I'm like theories, reviews, whatever. I love hearing, because I think that's true art. I love something that's clear cut, of course. It's like, this is the story, beginning, middle, and end. And it's like a warm blanket. You feel good. But the stuff that really gets into my soul is the stuff that really makes you think, yes, about the world, but really like your place in it. And it really questions, for me, you know, are we a worthwhile group of people to study, to save even, you know, and all that juicy gray area that it explores, you know, because when I'm, you know, as a kid, I grew up and I'm like, right and wrong. And I still do. I'm like, that's wrong. You know, I'm very much like the justice seeker, but like the absolutes of the black and white have become much more muddled for me as I've gotten older. And I think I've zeroed in on those shows for that reason, that they definitely explore that gray area where someone's good, but then, you know, someone maybe not be that good, but they, you know, or there seems like their life choices are just perpetually not good, but then they do something and you're like, oh, but that's so human, or it's such a spark of like great humanity in you, you know, and then they go back doing something kind of crappy, you know, and you're like, and just doesn't care, you know, and I think you can't help but see yourself in those people to some degree. So I think we've all been faced with those choices where you could do something that's not cool. And whether you do it or not, you know, watching that struggle. Did I answer your question? I just went off on a...
No, I'm really interested because I wanted to ask you sort of to tie it together. What about as performer? What about shows you're in? What about shows that you've seen, the mechanism of how they work? Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like, you know, the story continues with you?
Does it continue with me? Well, when I work on something and I'm done, it's over, right? I don't think about it anymore. I don't miss it. I compartmentalize everything. You know, even to the point of like within a day of working, if you ask me if like what I shot in the morning versus what I'm doing at night, I couldn't go back. I'd be like, I might not remember, or if I do, I'm like, I don't remember my lines anymore. Like I just save enough space and I dump it. So everything is very finite for me, but I don't think I've been involved with anything, at least that's fully aired, that has you know, not like a complete resolution. I think everything I've been involved with has like a clear ending, whether you like the way it ended or not. I feel like everything I've been involved with has an ending, and I would have loved to have been on something like Galactica or Leftovers or something like that, so that, because I just enjoy watching that so much. I would love to be a part of that kind of story where I could make somebody feel the way I do about, well, what is going to happen and what does that really mean? And you can have legitimate debates, and, you know, you'd have to get the word from the creator as to, what they saw for the ending or for that theme or whatever it is. Like art. I just love art. So could stare at a piece for hours and get something different out of it.
What's it been like for you to, shooting WandaVision, sort of waiting, the announcement that you were involved in it, that I was so happy to receive, and then just, going back to it and, having that time in between where, it was done, but now everybody's hooked and discovering it. What has that meant for you?
It's funny because, my friends will be like, so can you just like, what kind of happens? I'm like, I honestly don't know. I don't remember. I'm watching these episodes and going, oh my gosh, that's right. That's so cool. I mean, we started in 2019. We broke for a very long period of time. And I was so removed from the character by the time we started back up. I got on the phone with Jack Schaefer and I'm like, honey, you got to walk me through it again. Like, I don't remember my choices. I don't remember, like, I don't remember Dottie anymore. Like, what's like, I'm looking at pieces of paper, but like nothing's registering for me. And since I've worked with her before and I love her so dearly, we have a little shorthand. She's like, okay, so blank, 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 blank. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay, that's right. Then I was able to stop panicking and like go back to work and get back in that zone again. And it's a really unusual zone, as you can tell by watching it. It's not your standard, there's a lot going on. So it's like, right. And at this point, wait, where are we with this again? Has this happened? Or, like putting everything in the chronological order for me so that I could do it. Not necessarily the chronological order of the show, but for me going back into it. And it's like I said, it's just such a joy to watch it because I didn't see any of it. I never saw dailies. I never saw anything. So to actually, I knew it was going to look really pretty and I knew it was going to be great because the scripts were great and watching all the actors be awesome, and then watching it come together and, it's so much more creative and interesting than I thought, and I thought a lot of it. So it's like, it hits it out of the park.
Yeah, really like a deep dive into television, into what it means. What has it meant that, you and Jack have had that, shorthand that you worked on Timer, which is such an interesting movie together, that, Matt is directing every episode, that he himself was a former child actor on a TV show and he gets that, freedom to do all the episodes. You said you could spend a whole interview talking about Kathryn Hahn and working with her.
Like I bow to her. It's like, she makes it look so easy. She just makes it look so easy. And she's just so funny. She's so funny and so smart and so insightful, like all her moments between her moments, just, all the negative space. I don't mean like negative bad. I mean, like going back to art, like this is what you see, but then there's all this negative space and like she inhabits that too. She's just great. I mean, they all are. Lizzie is incredible and Paul and just, they're just great.
What do you think? I mean, how does it feel to have a show like this, for people to be, I want to ask, well, first of all, everyone theorizes. Has anyone come close? Has anyone sort of guessed? Are we even in the ballpark?
There are a lot of really interesting theories. And I think there's, I mean, I've got a theory.
Does it feel that same way though about how, like we were talking about earlier, when you're doing your own deep dive? Do you encourage that sort of thing? Do you like when people?
Even amongst my friends, and I still, I'm like, yes, that is interesting. You should definitely explore that. They're like, you're the worst. Why can't you just say? I'm like, because I can't say, and I don't trust you. And if I did tell you how it all ends or whatever, I don't trust that you won't spill it. That's it. Not because you want to, but because I don't think people can keep secrets. I really don't. I can. I'm just going to say it would have to, I really can't. I'm a very good secret keeper. But even I, who like pride myself on keeping secrets, you know, sometimes in a like a weird moment, you forget that somebody doesn't know something, and you reference something random, and then you catch yourself. You're like, oh my God, did they catch that? They, because you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't say. I'm good. I don't say anything, but I do love all the theories, and I mean, yeah, I can't confirm or deny anything because Marvel will, I don't want to make Kevin Feige angry at me.
You just whoosh right out of there is what happens.
You know, I just
straight out. Yeah. I've noticed a lot with your friends. A lot of your friends are industry, you know. Who have been some of your favorite scene partners over the years? Who've been some people that you've so enjoyed working with and sort of bouncing off?
I worked with Mike Colter a few years back, and he's just such an interesting human being. He's got such a, I don't know, like a commanding presence. He's such a natural leader. He's very smart. You know, he just creates this very safe area without being like, I don't know, like, I'm a man, I'm going to swoop in and take care of it, but I'm going to be a man and take care of it. And there's a difference, you know, there's a difference. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like just being someone who represents being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to stop talking. But a lot of the people that I happen to be friendly with or whatever, who are in the business, you know, we haven't worked together at all. We just sort of mutually admire one another, but you know, there are a lot of people I would like to work with. But I mean, obviously most recently working with Lizzie and Paul and Catherine, I mean, that's pretty dope because they're great. They're all little masters at what they do. And it's, you know, humbling. I like to be humbled. I just would like to be humbled. I think, yeah.
What have been some of those shows maybe recently? You know, I've spent a lot of this time watching television, you know, catching up on older shows, rewatching and things like that. Your show, you know, it really won me over too, that I just felt like it's just so interesting, and I like the ideas from it. Have you had sort of recent shows that have meant something to you in the same way?
I'm just I finished Schitt's Creek not that long ago, and I was just, I don't know. It's like, I'm sure you've seen Schitt's Creek. It's just such a, it just makes you feel so good. And I love all those characters so much. You know, Ted Lasso, I just recently finished season 1. Again, there's just these unapologetically hopeful shows. And I need that. I think we all do. It's not so far from reality. You know, they still manage to deal with real life situations, you know, upsets, whether it's jealousy or anger or resentment or alcoholism or whatever they're, you know, but in this it's going to be okay way that doesn't feel like it's not condescending. It's not placating you. It's just like, things actually can work out. Like, it's, you know, it's okay to think that they're going to work out because they can, and they do for a lot of people. You just may not see it all the time, or you may not feel it, or the world might be just too crazy right now to feel like you dare to hope. But like, those shows have definitely, they're incredibly well done and well acted, and you know, everything about them is just A+. They definitely are like that comfort food, like a Star Trek Next Generation, which, for as much as I love a good Battlestar Galactica, where it's like, this isn't really a happy ending. Like, it ends up happy, but is it really? Because you know it's just going to happen again. So it's like, oh, it's kind of a bummer. Whereas Star Trek, you know, they have their problems, but they all work it out in the end. You know, Earth made it out okay. You know, we're friends with other little aliens and we all get along except for those bad ones and we have to fight them. But like, we know we're going to win. It's going to be okay. I need that too. For as much as I am a realist, I'm still a hopefulist.
Yes.
It's not a word, but we'll, you know, we'll make it a word.
So I've dipped a lot into the past. I want to ask you about the future too. What are some things that maybe you haven't had a chance yet to do on screen that you'd like to?
I think like mostly everything I haven't done.
Really?
No, you know, the stuff I've really always wanted to do is stuff that just never came my way. Like I always find like the character actors, the supporting stuff, like they get the meat. They've always had for me, far more interesting stories to tell than the be pretty person. And I think most of my career has been cookie cutter, be the bitch, be pretty, be whatever, be the girlfriend, like be whatever, you know, and they're not very dynamic. Be scared, you know, like thank God, girl. I mean, I could cry and be scared in one day, you know, like depending on what's going on in the news, you know, like there's a lot, you know, there's this range of emotions there that, you know, you often don't get to express. At least I haven't. I have not had in any way, shape, or form a career that I thought I would have. I would say most of the work I have done is to like, well, once you set up a standard of living, you kind of keep going. You're like, I always kind of refer to it as stripper money. It's like, it's just too good to quit. Like, where else am I going to make that kind of cash that fast? Like, you've got to, you know, you do this or that, you hustle. Like, I've always been weirdly fascinated with playing a stripper. I read for one not that long ago and I thought I really did a good job, but maybe I didn't because they didn't hire me. But, you know, it was pretty gritty. I was like, that would be cool. Just like more dynamic. You know, I've done a lot of science fiction, fantasy, and it's all really, really good. WandaVision's allowed me to explore a different aspect of that had been missing. Because it's such a fresh take on it. It's in that world with being completely original. Yeah. Someone a little crazy.
Did you notice a change when you were like, for example, being the creator of Contrapussy, when you know, do you feel like this has to be sort of manifested itself a little bit? Do you know, if you're not finding the right role, do you think that maybe as a director or a producer or something else, you know, you can create that for yourself?
I mean, I do. I used to believe that. I'm not trying to be like negative Nancy over here. I had like, I was completely fearless for a long time. You know, I would accost people on red carpets when I was there. I'm like, what about this? You know, I'd happily go pitch something, not even tell my agents I was doing it, but just like call someone up and whatever, I'm doing that. And then they'd find out about it. They're like, you were in so-and-so's, you know, and for me, it'd be like, well, you didn't do it. I asked you to do it. You didn't do it. Or you took too long or whatever. And it's like, well, I got myself in the room by whatever. And, you know, I would have no fear whatsoever and be very confident that whatever it was I thought they should make. It was like very, very much my own salesperson, like my own cheerleader. I'm like, no, this is awesome. And, you know, looking back now, it's really funny because I just thought of it as so normal when this whole MeToo thing started coming about, and you know, be asked like, well, did you ever experience any sort of blatant misogyny or, you know, whatever? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I'm like, I don't think I ever felt really uncomfortable. I mean, and then I started kind of just slowly piecing back. I'm like, oh, that's right. You know, you were in that meeting and it's like with this certain guy, and he'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea. That is a great idea. We should all go to Vegas and like party for the weekend and talk more about it, you know? And I'm like, okay, I don't really want to go to Vegas. Okay. You're just being funny, you know, like whatever. And then not sell the script, or, you know, with Controversy, even like being at Adult Swim at the time, before we made it into a comic, we pitched it as a live action, sorry, no, animated. And they were like, basically they buy it right there. They're like, you just need to change Controversy, you need to make her male. And I'm like, well, no, can't do that. That's a completely different show. They're like, yeah, no, it'd have to be male in order for, you know, our viewers to get behind it. No one's going to want to watch a female cat or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't sell it. I was like, no. And, you know, I think back about these sort of hardline decisions that I've made, you know, like insisting, like when I got a show, like I want to be made a producer in the second year, basically just doing things that I saw my male counterparts doing. Like, well, they're offered this show and they asked for it and they're getting it. And I should, you know, why don't I have, you know, I can hold my own. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I can go and make a decision in the room and understand the story and do all the things that producers do. And like, nope. And then pass on the show completely. Well, then no, then I'm not doing it, and then not have the job, and then somebody else do it. And, you know, I rolled the hard six many, many, many times and failed many, many, many times. And so I am also to blame for the fact that my career is not representative of my dreams necessarily, because if I didn't do the thing I wanted to do, that could have done, but I would have had to have sacrificed something great, maybe I would have been in a different position, or, you know, maybe I wouldn't. So instead, you know, I'll play the woman in peril and keep my house, or you know, whatever that is.
Well,
so when you ask what do I want to do, I'm like, a lot, because I thus far haven't done hardly anything that I've really wanted to do.
Lastly, I want to ask you, do you think that's significant that WandaVision is the first MCU television show is female created, female led?
Yes, I think it's enormously significant, and it couldn't happen to a more like Jack Schaefer. When I met her, I'm like, you're one of the smartest human beings I've ever met. You're so clever. This is so, and like, I wanted that movie so badly. And there was someone I was up against who I lose out a lot to. And so when I actually won it, I was like, oh, yay. I've, you know, superhero analogy. Like you were my kryptonite and I got rid of you. And, you know, I knew that she was so gifted, but like, I was so moved by the content without even having it be this additional bonus of like, oh, and you're female, you know, and then getting that experience of like, oh, I'm working with somebody who wrote and directed and is now directing this piece. Totally new experience, and it kicked ass. And then, you know, having this kind of come back again, you know, she's worthy of all she should do is continue just to go up like this, just keep skyrocketing. And not because she's female, but yes, because she's female, because she should have the right, but like, because the work is there. And it's been infuriating seeing female writers and directors and people that I know who I'm like, you're phenomenally gifted, and you should have just as much of a chance as your male counterpart, but the male counterpart will get it with far less, you know, credits or whatever. And so, you know, they scored, you know, okay, so Manchester must have won or something's happening. They tied it. Yeah. It's just about time. I don't know. I feel like I could go on and on about this, but I just feel like I can't believe I'm still having to have, or we're still on any level having this conversation. You know, like, well, you know, can a woman do it? You know, like, can't, why can't she do it? You know, it's a ridiculous, it's ridiculous. So for me, yes, working with her, super essential. She said, do you want to come play? I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, anything. What do you want? I'll do, I don't even have, you don't even have to pay me. I just want to see you. I want to work with you. I love your words. And it's this, and it's, you know, it's WandaVision, it's for Marvel. I'm like, like, what? Like, never thought I'd be working for Marvel. So to be brought in and to have the way they've handled it, their faith and just the whole team behind it, it's just been extraordinary. It's been, you know, the way, you know, they've got to explore Lizzie's character and Paul's, of course, like their dynamic, but you know, Lizzie's character is just so unique. It's just been thrilling. I'm so happy that I've had a chance to be a part of it.
I want to give I want to give this, I want to give this an actual ending, but just to say thank you. I've enjoyed this immensely. It's such a pleasure. I'm sorry about your day for today, that you've had so much of this going on, but getting to talk to hear from you was amazing. And I thank you for all of your work.